have to try.
Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds.
You don't have to be perfect. You just have to try. If you decide to try what you fear, what you failed at, you will sleep the sleep of the just tonight, because at least you will say, I tried. I didn't win, I tried. Versus living a life of regret. That is the one thing I refuse to do in my life. I will fail. I will fail, I will fail, I will fail, but I will not regret. I will risk. I will fail, I will risk, I will try, but I will not regret. Because when you are taking your final breaths, you're not worried about anything other than, did I make the most out of this life? Or do I have a life full of regrets and fears and things I didn't try? Fuck that. No regrets, no fear. Ladies, stop living life on fear mode. Make yourself vulnerable to the kind of man you say you want. Gentlemen, stop living life on fear mode. Make yourself available to the kind of outcomes you want. You don't.
Thank you, everybody, for your contributions. I appreciate it. Let's keep it going. Donate to the Super Chat. Donate to the PayPal. Donate to the Cash App. It's your contributions and your donations that'll cause for this platform to grow. Let our voice be the voice, the preeminent voice in Black America.
This breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now, because we are raising up women to be men. And you are not applauded for your femininity. You are applauded in the contemporary society by how tough, rough, nasty, mean, aggressive, hateful, possessive you are, and you are climbing the corporate ladder, but we are losing our families. I know you can buy your own car. I know you can buy your own house. But until you create a need that I can pour into, I have no place in your life. So stop coming home bragging to me about how much you don't need me and wonder why.
Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds.
77 cents on the dollar for what men make. So if women don't make less than men?
Oh, actually, if you start looking at the numbers, Rachel, there are lots of reasons for that.
Wait.
Well,
don't tell me the reasons are. Do women make less than men for doing the same work?
No, because...
Wow.
Well,
okay.
Wow. Well, for example,
men
work an average of 44 hours a week. Women work 41 hours a week. Men go into professions like engineering, science, and math that earn more. Women want more flexible
Listen, this is not a math is hard.
No. Yes, it is, actually.
No, it isn't.
Well,
listen.
All right, let Rachel frame it, though, the way...
Right now, women are making 77 cents on the dollar for what men are making. So
that's not true. If so,
all right, let Rachel make her point.
Every greedy businessman in America would hire only women, save 25%, and be hugely bingo.
I feel like this is actually, and it's weird that you're interrupting me and not letting me make my point, because we get along so well. So let me make my point.
I will.
But it is important, I think. The interruption is important, I think. 77 cents on the dollar for what men.
I could go to Brazil and do the same goddamn thing. You feel what I'm saying? I would blend in. You feel what I mean? It wouldn't be no, ooh, where's she from? Nah, I would be in Brazil. You know what I'm saying? Hey, boo-boo. Portuguese, you know what I'm saying? Bitch, get on somewhere with this shit. Y'all gonna be mad because we about to cock block on y'all asses. Y'all passport bros. I get it. Y'all thought y'all was gonna be going down to Brazil. You thought you was gonna be in the Dominican Republic, taking these pictures, trying to throw it in our face about how fine their women are. Excuse me, sir. We know they fine. We seen their men. Now you really about to be mad. You and the bitch will be mad. Because guess what the Black American woman is going to do? Bitch, fuck them. We about to take you, nigga. Come on, boo-boo. You want to go back to America? Fuck them. Keep them. Yeah, so guess what? We'll do a trade. We will do a trade. Y'all will be mad as a bitch. Y'all will be mad as a bitch.
Hey, welcome back to the broadcast. This is Dennis Sperling, also known as Uncle D. And as you can see from this big smile on my face, I am very excited about tonight's show because I am presented with an opportunity to introduce you all to the brilliant men of the Black Manosphere. These are men that I look up to, that I listen to on a regular basis. And so I am just overjoyed to be able to now have reached a point of having 50,000 subscribers, which means I get a chance to introduce you all to the thinking men, to the brilliant men of the Black Manosphere. You know, and first of all, you got to understand, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to analyze the social climate of the world and bring it to you, right? And these men do so at great risk as to their career, as to their own autonomy. And so, you know, you don't realize the attacks come at great cost and they're vicious, right? Because a lot of people don't want the truth being told. These Black men in the Black Manosphere are doing things that Black men have typically been told not to do. That is what? Shut up, be quiet, be the strong, silent type. But they're doing the exact opposite. See, here's the thing. If you want to have a voice, you'll have to pay for it. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is make sure you support the content creators, not just with your subscriptions, but also with your money, because that's what keeps them going. I mean, yeah, you can't be up there in front taking the hits for them, but you certainly can support them. Certainly, you got to understand something. This is not for the faint of heart. Having been in it for almost 2 years now, I recognize that you got to have some testicle fortitude to do this. But look at the amazing work, right? Look at what's going on in the community. I can only imagine what would happen in the next 20 years. You're probably going to have a lot more female representatives in this space. But see, here's the thing. You're also going to have a lot more recognitions of men's issues in the next 50 years, even in the mainstream media, because we're generating a lot of headlines. We are the undercurrent of society at this time. This is where we are. See, most of you, when you came here, you were lost. You didn't understand what was going on. And it wasn't until these teachers began to teach for free that you began to develop an understanding. They literally removed the log from your eyes. That's what happened to many of you. You stopped tolerating a lot of disrespect and BS in your relationships and in your marriages, some of you. You got back on your purpose. You began to build your legacy. And you owe that to these Black men on YouTube. Now, of course, we acknowledge the members of the greater Manosphere who come in all colors and all shapes, all religious, but as far as Black Americans and Black men in general, we have to make sure we understand that our representation has been poignant. Now, I don't give relationship advice. I just want you men to be the best men that you can be. I want you to stay out of trouble, stay out of jail, take care of your children. Don't cheat on your wives and girlfriends. I want you to eat good. I want you to live good. I want you to focus on your health. I want you to make your health a priority. Above all, I want you to have peace of mind and happiness. And I want you to live and find your purpose, the one that the Most High has for you. Now, much of that is dependent on the type of woman you choose. And unfortunately, in the Black community, we have been told that any one of them is better than you, so you're lucky to have one. But the truth is that's not true. But that was the lie that we've been told. Misandry is a word that I would believe we refer to that. That's not my word. Matter of fact, the first time I heard that word was from a gentleman that you all should know. And if you don't know, it's a shame. And that's Dr. Tia Son Johnson, a brilliant professor, a college professor who's come on the scene recently, that someone that I have great respect for. Another person, many of you don't know his name, but you should. Mumia Obsidian Ali. He is considered the thought leader of the Black Manosphere, the thought leader of the Manosphere in general. So what am I saying? What I'm telling you is there's so much here. There's so much that needs to uncover. We love Kevin Samuels and we miss him greatly. But the truth is, he was the avatar. He was the salesperson. He was the person who stood in front of the library and said, come on in. I got more of this inside. And when you walk in, it's almost like you're walking into a master's level course or a PhD level course. And this is where we are. So without further ado, I'm going to take the opportunity to just introduce you all first to Mumia Obsidian Ali. Welcome, welcome. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, great, Counselor. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here. For you guys who don't know, I've been listening to Mr. Ali since probably, I would say, 2016, 2017. He was one of the first people that I began listening. He was the one who said, and I heard this, that the problem that Black Americans face going into the 21st century is that Black men and women don't get along. My God, that was earth-shattering to me because I'd never heard anybody bold enough to say it just like that. Well, can you take the opportunity, Mr. Ali, and just introduce everybody to yourself, or introduce everybody to you, and thank you. It's an honor here having you. Please take the time, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Mumia Obsidian Ali. I'm considered one of the founding fathers of the Black Manosphere, as it's currently known. Got started in 2015 in the summer after I was I retired several years before that from a 22-year career in the blue-collar skilled trades. I would be what Kevin would call Blue Henry. And I had stumbled on what I refer to as the white manosphere. They were talking about a lot of things that I could relate to, even though I was Black and they were white. I could relate to a number of masculine or manhood type of issues. And that got me started writing blogs and articles. I wound up writing for Voice for Men, the Good Men Project, Return of Kings, The Spearhead, in Malafide, and even headed up a small men's issues blog collective called Just For Guys. And that led me to doing podcasting here on YouTube. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I just fired it up. I got started in the bathroom because I used that as a makeshift studio booth with a laptop and a cheap, corny USB headset mic, and that's how I got started in 2015. And it's been a hell of a ride ever since. And even now, I'm embarking on new adventures, taking things to the next level.
Now, you've been interviewed by some nationally recognized periodicals and articles. How has that been? How has this newfound fame and success hit you? I mean, what are your friends saying? People recognize you everywhere you go. So how is that? How has it been dealing with that?
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I was at a party with my lady friend, Miss Brown Sugar. We was at a party a few months ago, and some guys recognized me. Yo, man, that's Obsidian. I know him. And it did feel kind of strange, you know what I mean? People on the street recognize you. But as far as the press, I have accepted that we're not going to get a fair shake in the press. We're not going to get a fair shake in the news media. For the most part, notable exceptions notwithstanding, they're going to have a view of us that's going to be skewed. And I accept that. That's just how it is. And Kevin taught all of us how to handle, I guess you would consider adversarial, or what you would say in your line of work, hostile witnesses. I've accepted that and learned how to deal with it. And that's the reason why we need our own media arm, because these people are not going to treat you fairly. I was interviewed for Elle magazine earlier this year, back in January. Well, actually, it was back last summer, but if the interview itself was finally released in January. And I had the presence of mind to record the actual interview because something told me that this thing might not go the way I had thought. And sure enough, when it was released, it was completely misrepresented. So what I immediately did is dug up those tapes and released them to the public so people could actually hear the actual interview. And what I came away from, counselor, was okay. Every interview that I do outside of the Black Manosphere from here on out, I'm recording it. So the full interview was there just in case this sort of thing happens again, where they try to misrepresent me and so on and so forth. That's how it is. I accept that, and that's the reason why we need our own media. Black men need to have their own voice, where we can't be misconstrued or chopped and screwed and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. You know, the thing is, I want to take a quick commercial, but I want you to pay attention to these and see. Here's the thing. Let me say this, and I want to lay this down. There are a lot of people who have joined the Black Manosphere. There are a lot of people on YouTube, but the people that I invite here are the thinkers. See, there are people who mimic, and then there are people who create. There are people who do reactions, and then there are people who create. Mumia Obsidian Ali is one of the people who created the lexicon that we go by. This man is brilliant. This man probably should have 2 PhDs right now. When you listen to him speak on his YouTube channel, I'm like, oh my God, this is an erudite. My God, where did this guy come from? You sound more thoughtful and learned than many of the scholars lawyers that I go to school with or went to school with. So, you know, I want you to help me dissect something so they can kind of understand. Now, we're going to kind of talk about Passport Bros. I'm going to show you a few commercials. We'll be right back.
Okay.
And then you tell me your thoughts on it.
So today I'm talking to you about this trend that Western men, are looking overseas to other countries for women, because the women in Western culture have been poisoned by toxic femininity. They are militant with their feminist ways. They can't even appreciate a compliment from a nice gentleman. You see, you say, hey, beautiful to me, and I'm going to wink and smile. But these girls can't handle that. So men are going overseas to find love. Where in the world are they going? Is it Indonesia? Is it South America? Where are men going?
All y'all black men talking about y'all finna leave the country because y'all sick of black women and y'all sick of our attitudes and y'all sick of our masculinity and y'all sick of us having to take care of ourselves. Guess what? We don't give a fuck. Bye. Because we want white men anyway.
Well. So, you know, this is this what I'm seeing here. What I'm seeing here is I'm seeing an effect that the Black Manosphere, because it's not white men talking about Passport Bros.
Yeah.
But anytime you have members of the dominant society, i.e. that white lady, now she knows about the fact of this movement. It shows you how far reaching the Black Manosphere has become. And we acknowledge Sandman. We acknowledge TFM. We acknowledge Better Bachelor and all those guys in the greater manosphere, the white manosphere. We Barbarossa, everybody going back, 15 years ago. But it's right here and right now. We're at the forefront with this sword cutting through these stigma and the stereotypes in society, and also flexing our expanding our wings and flying. But what do you think is the response? Why are these women responding like, aren't these the same women that said we're strong, independent, and don't need a man? And so now when we take them up on that, why is that? Can you explain that to us? This phenomenon of these women and their backlash.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so let's go there. The white man, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this right on the table. The white man is going all over the world, conquering other societies and spreading his seed in every nation he can get his hands on. That's the truth. There's a really good TV show on HBO now called House of the Dragon. The royal family, the Targaryen, that's what they do. They go to Westeros and they spread they take their dragons and they spread their seed to all the women there. That's the way of the world. So why should it be any different for the Black American man? the Black American man should be able to go out and conquer too, and spread his seed also.
Now, why is it that we're getting so much backlash? And I think our next guest is probably going to be able to give us some more academic and research about that specifically. But from your perspective, Obsidian, why is that? Why is it that we get so much vitriol?
Well, this is going to sound bad, but I'm going to say it. The Black woman, notable exceptions notwithstanding, doesn't want to compete for the kind of men that they want. They want a Black man. I said this on my show last night. I figured it out. They want a Black man that can compete in the white man's world. They want him to wear the white man's clothes, read business suit. They want him to drive the white man's car, Range Rover, Bugatti, Mercedes Benz, and all the rest of it. They want them to have the white man's benefits, money, being able to flued out, having nice food and go places. Fair enough. I go along with all that. But look, you got to qualify for all of that. You can't come in here weighing more than a grown-ass man that's 6 feet tall. Can't come in here with a defective womb. You don't procreate it with knuckleheads, and now you bringing nothing to the table. Listen, women that worth anything to a man, they have to produce. Their wombs have to produce for that man. You already coming in there talking about the baby shop is closed. You come up here with a bad attitude. You don't want to get the man a plate. I mean, this is what the rank and file Black woman, not all of them, but the rank and file Black women want. They don't want to compete with the women like you showed the white lady up there. They don't want to compete with that, but they want you to stay here and give them all the benefits of a white society. They want the Black man to compete against the white man, beat him at his own game, then bring home all the benefits for what? Exactly. For what?
All right. So what we're going to do, Mumia, Obsidian, Ali, I want to put you back in the bullpen. I wanted you to have your own time. We're going to bring out our next guest.
Okay.
And then we'll bring both of you guys in, because that's going to be, I mean, the sum of the parts, I mean, you guys are going to be brilliant together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick commercial break. I'm going to bring our next guest in, and then we'll bring you back in after his opening.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Hang in there for a minute, because I definitely want everybody to know how to find you. Hit the #1 button for Mumia, Obsidian, Ali. We'll be right back.
People don't tell women the truth these days. Men get told the truth all the time. Women have no problem telling a man, I don't want an average man. It happens every day on my show. TLC said they don't want no scrubs, and we have no problem telling average men, you ain't crap. But if I just happen to have the nerve to agree with the woman that says she's average, then I'm Satan. I think that's interesting. People don't tell women the truth.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. We opened up. I mean, man, it's just an honor to have Mumia, Obsidian, Ali. Funny story. It's because I appeared on Obsidian's show that I was first introduced to Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels, Mumia, Obsidian, Ali introduced me to Kevin Samuels on his show. And thereafter that, we became friends. It was at that time that he convinced me to join his Facebook group called The Mix, and that's where I met my fiance. So if you don't think that these connections and that these people are having real life consequences, and you just don't know. You don't know. This is real. This is really real. Now, here's the thing. I'm gonna bring in. Well, let me do this. I got somebody, man, who's one of my favorites, and I know he's a busy man. Give me 1 second. We're going to change the lineup a little bit, but I got to bring my man in, Mr. Palmer. What's happening, baby?
Hey.
What's going on? How you doing today, brother?
Hey, I'm good, man. Over here sitting on the couch.
Oh, my God, man. Look, man, let me tell you something. And I, you know, Mr. Palmer is raw and uncut, and I tell him all the time, people like him and Minister Jap, they can say things that I can't say. They can say things that Dr. Tiasan Johnson and the Green Gorilla and other folks, they can speak. Even Mumia, Obsidian, he can say things that I can't say. But the bottom line is, and I wanted to tell you this, and I want to introduce everybody to Mr. Palmer. The term baby mama terrorist, that's his term.
Yes,
You gotta
sir.
check his page out, because let me say this. Your work is probably some of the most important work that's going on in all of the Manosphere, because you're pushing the disparities in the family court system in everybody's face. What he does on his show, man, go ahead. You tell us what you're doing. I don't want to take the words from you, but your work is the most, I truly believe that some of the reason that we are now seeing some changes in the family law, even though they're minute, is because of you and other men like you pushing it in their face. What are your thoughts, man? Just introduce yourself briefly. I'm not gonna hold you up too long. I told you 5 minutes. What are you? Just tell us who you are and how we can find you.
Hey, I'm Mr. Palmer. I've been doing this YouTube for like 2 years, but I started on Facebook and I started off with Fuck Child Support. I want you to understand that this system is a gender bias system amongst men, black men, white men, Latino men, Asian, anywhere where there's a feminist ideology where they run the system, fathers are destroyed, our children are destroyed. I'm very passionate about what I put out here. My goal is to spread awareness so men and our young boys don't go through the same thing that a lot of us have. You know what I mean? It's so many men that are not allowed to be fathers, so many men that are destroyed because I can't be a father to my child. This system is a $60 billion industry. They get paid $60 billion to destroy your life. They get a financial gain off your pain. Whether you get married, do it the right way, or you do the get in a relationship unwedded, it happens the same way. You're all deadbeats. How many of you brothers did it the right way, got married, and for some reason, no fault divorce, woman want to divorce you, so you part of the 72%, women divorce the man, and you get every other weekend, if that, and you paying that child support, or you paying that spouse support. You know, I want you to understand that you come out here saying, well, I did it the right way. You know, I planned my kids, or we got married first and all that. They don't care when you go in family court. So whether if you a dude that was in a long-term relationship, you was married, they treat you all one of the same. You the deadbeat. They believe what the baby mama terrorists say. And these judges are going to side with them because the more money they take from you, the more cut they get out of that money. Now you got a lot of people that sit back and say, "Oh, well, you hate women. Oh, you just against being a father." Well, how am I against being a father when I'm showing you stats of 17.5% of men in this nation? That's 1 out of every 6 in the United States get custody of our boys and our girls. That's 1 out of every 6. You got 30% of men who are paying child support for children that's not theirs. That's paternity fraud. You know what I mean? So the reason why I came out with Fuck Child Support, because that's the core problem. If they weren't getting all this money and they weren't giving these baby mama chairs a incentive to use the child as a weapon, shield, pawn, rocket launcher, and everything else, then a lot of women wouldn't even have kids out of wedlock. A lot of women would pick better. A lot of women wouldn't even have kids until they marry. But since this system is designed to look out for them, for their capital gain, they don't give a damn about how much a good father you was, how much you was very active. You living in the same house, you still get put on child support. Now, the term baby mama terrorist means any man who is,
it's appropriate. Go ahead, brother. You the first one to call it.
Baby mama terrorist is one who terrorizes fathers for being their children's lives. Yeah. That's what a baby mama terrorist is. So anybody,
No, I wanted to. It's almost impossible to convince people how sinister these women are and how much they study this child support system. Like, even in the practice of law, if you go before a judge, oh no, she wouldn't alienate you from your son and daughter. She knows, she wants what's in the best interest of the kids. Oh no, she's not coming over there harassing you. It's your fault that you're taking it wrong. How difficult is it for a person like me to go to court and convince a jury of something? Is different if they have their bias, but with you putting things out there, with you putting the images out there and staying focused on that, it causes for a political shift to happen. So this is the work that you're doing. But please go ahead and please explain.
Well,
that.
The unfortunate thing, I want people to understand that a lot of people say, well, it's a black thing. Actually, child support was out here in 1935 to help the married white woman. See, married white dudes fighting overseas, not coming back. I understood why child support was needed back then, because child support, woman wasn't allowed to work at the time, and excuse me, you know, who gonna take care of that child and baby? The government got tired of doing that. So I understood. Back in the day, the family structure of Black communities was what, 85, 90%? We didn't have them problems.
Yeah.
And as time went on in the 1970s, when the welfare and all that kicked off, and kicking the man out the house or keeping the man out the house, they realized in the Black community that, hey, we don't need no man. I'm strong and independent.
Right.
And all these years, they came with this stigma that if you was on child support, it's because you're a deadbeat and don't want to be a father. All these years, you had politicians. They still do it. Politicians. You had your mothers, your grandmothers, your aunties would tell you that you don't need no man. Well, at least tell the daughters.
Right.
And now it got so bad that you got men at the point now, I'm going to go and get my passport, get out of here, because I'm not going to get married in this situation. I'm not going to go through a second divorce. I'm not going to go through a second baby mama terrorist. So my goal overall is for men to change the laws in their mind. I'm going to say it again. It's for the men to change the laws in their mind. And a prime example of change the laws in their mind, stop entertaining and go along, get along, and stop being quiet.
Yes, sir.
Stop defending people that do not deserve to be defended. One of the reasons why they continue to do what they do, because they are rewarded for their bad behavior.
Yes, sir.
They are rewarded for their bad behavior.
That's a great place to stop. I want to look. I want you to hang around. I know you're busy. I know you have stuff to do. If you can hang around when we get the other guys in the panel, that would be great, because everybody. I mean, see, we're dealing with a lot of critics coming in from the outside, but we have voices that are important, that are extremely important. Just like hip hop changed society in the 1980s, I believe voices like yours, voices like Obsidian, voices like the Tiasan Johnson, Minister Gap, screaming and yelling and fussing at them is going to force them to have to take a look. So just if you can just hang out for a minute, man, I'm going to put you back in the bullpen, take a commercial, bring our last guests in. They'll do their open, and then we'll just have an open panel, because your voice is necessary. And like I tell you, I tell you all the time, I'm a big fan. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta, and you said something that is overlooked. This is every man is dealing with this. It doesn't matter what your education level is. It doesn't matter how much money you have, whether you're paying $195,000 a month, $10,000 a month, or $45 a week. You are still suffering from this child support system, which is being manipulated and abused by the other party, and they're incentivized to do it. Let's take a quick break with Mr. Palmer. We're gonna put him back in the bullpen. We're gonna bring our last guest out, and we'll be right back in a second. But you guys, make sure you hit the #1 button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button for Mr. Palmer. We'll be right back.
And is going out here saying fuck American women, more so the Black ones, because they're going overseas to get their wife. We're too annoying in America. We want too much money. X, Y, and Z. All right, cool. This video is specifically for women in other countries. Thailand, Vietnam, anywhere in the fucking Caribbean, India, wherever you at besides the fucking United States. I've done this video before, but I'm not going to waste your time and resources for you to come like search for this shit and nobody answered. But we're going to try this again. Because apparently it don't cost much. And how they presented it, they damn sure ain't using no motherfucking money. It ain't no Benjamins, no Frank, Abraham Jackson, whatever. So I need to understand, what is it, how do these American men take care of y'all? I mean, is it a dowry? Are they coming to your people with gold? Do y'all exchange like fucking cattle? Are they paying you with cryptocurrencies? Do they leave y'all letters with fucking IOUs? Please enlighten the American women. Because apparently these men just think y'all cheap. And it's just too easy to get a passport and bring y'all back over here because y'all ain't about no money. But I know, y'all foreign women, y'all don't play when it comes to them fucking coins.
Of a black man in Thailand.
Also, what's your favorite curse word?
Probably fuck. Probably fuck. you cuss a little? Probably love.
Welcome back to the broadcast. As you see, the ladies, the lovely ladies, as I like to call them, are in an uproar about this whole passport bros thing. And, I need the doctor to come in and dissect this situation. Without further ado, we'd like to invite Dr. Tia Son Johnson, who is one of my favorites. I enjoy listening to him, man. Sometimes I have to sit there and take notes. Like, what did he say? Man, I got to look that up. I'm Googling words and all kinds of stuff. And between you, Obsidian, and BGS, man, and then, of course, the other brothers, man, Ronald, Dr. Neil, and Gigi. And, man, it's like, oh, my goodness. It's just an honor and pleasure to be here with you, man. Dr. Floor is yours, man. Tell them who you are, what you do.
You got me messed up with them commercials, man.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. I lost all composure, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Appreciate you having me here, man.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure.
I'm sorry. What was the question, brother?
I mean, why, let me say it like this, man. I see this as a good thing. And Mr. Palmer brought it up, Obsidian brought it up. Black men finally have a voice.
Yes.
And like, why is that a bad thing? Why do we have so many critics telling us to shut up, be quiet? I mean, you got black men. This is the craziest thing. You got other black men telling black men in the manosphere to be quiet. Yeah. Don't talk.
Yeah.
To me, it's almost like, I mean, are they afraid? Are they afraid what white daddy is going to do to us? I mean, where does this come from? I mean, is there a lack of courage, or is there something? Why did they not want to hear us speak?
It's even more than a lack of courage. It's how we were socialized. I mean, we were socialized to be servants. We were socialized to be quiet and be malleable, right? So most particularly through the 1970s, when Black women in particular began to reframe and reimagine their gender roles, if we can use that term. That might be the last time the term was used in the Black community. They wanted to pick and choose from things that white women enjoyed, things that white men enjoyed, and things they imagined Black men enjoyed. And so they wanted to put that together and reformulate the Black relationship, the Black family, in such a manner that put them in a position of authority, even more so than prior. Because when you get to the 1960s and 70s, we start to see policies that support their reimagining of themselves, reimagining of their role. And in order for the family to function, men, for the most part, were expected to be quiet, to be complacent, and to follow. So whether that meant you were providing sexual pleasure, whether that meant you were providing sperm for reproduction, whether that meant you were taking care of someone else's kids or providing money for her to live her reality, those are the new roles available to men. There was no way in the world you were about to be a stay-at-home husband. That was her realm. If she wanted to work full-time, she wanted to go to school, she wanted to sit at home and do nothing. She had all of those options available to her. But for men, requiring a woman that's participating in the household as a wife, those things were starting to be seen as, patriarchal, sexist, problematic. So she got to a point where she could define herself in a relationship any way she wanted to. You had one role, which was, what now we would consider it something stuck in the 50s. You were a provider, and that was it. Those were the only two choices. And in my lifetime, I think you and I are around the same age. So generationally, we're in the same pocket. We've never seen Black men actually articulate themselves to this degree.
Never.
But more than that, we never had the platform to. We didn't have the Oprahs. We didn't have the Ricky Lakes and we didn't have all of the different frameworks available. So we weren't making films about, all the kind of things that came out in the 80s and 90s about, breathing again and living free. And we didn't have those kind of films and projects to put forth. The most we had was hip hop and comedy. And that meant that you had to filter everything, Black men were considering through a couple of comics like Eddie Murphy and Chris Rock or whatever, or maybe a few rappers. Now you have brothers who, as long as they have a smartphone, can participate in a discussion that Black men have never been able to have. And I'm telling you, man, when brothers started talking, I've listened to people my father and grandfather's age who've broken down into tears because they never had the vocabulary or the opportunity to have the kind of conversations we're having now. My own father broke down into tears listening to some of the things we talk about. because that wasn't, not only was it not allowed, there was no place to do it, and you didn't have a vocabulary to do it anyway. So it's a whole new ball game, man.
It truly is. Dr. Tia San Johnson, like just having you here and having someone on your level, because okay, so most of you guys know I'm a lawyer. I don't mention that very often because that's irrelevant here, but that's my profession. Primarily, I'm a father, and I'm a black father. I'm a black man, and I'm a father who has 3 black sons. And I want this world to be better for them than it was for me. Imagine growing up in the 1980s, 1990s, and every other show that you see is some negative portrayal of a black man. You go to the movies, you got to watch your Oprah Winfrey. Well, you got to watch your Harpos, and you know, you got to watch your Color Purples. You got to you know, how Stella Got a Groove Back. All of these different shows that just simply bash men. And if you heaven forbid you get home at 2:30 from school, you got to watch all these talk shows of whose baby daddy did to that, and this one is this kind of way. And it was just so many negative stereotypical portrayals. The only positive role model we had was probably Minister Farrakhan, and at that point, deceased Malcolm X. We didn't have people that were articulate and well-spoken who could come up with these talking points. And so we wouldn't be walking around all day with these terms and this stigma that's been put upon us. So what do you think the effect is going to be in the long run of the black man, of the manosphere in general, but the black manosphere specifically? How do you think this is going to affect if we keep continuing the way we are?
Effect in terms of the family,
moving forward, the family, society.
Okay.
You know, you see, I don't know how familiar you are with Dr. Palmer's work. I mean, Dr. Palmer, Mr. Palmer's work, but him and that hardcore, bam. See, he's gangster rap. Gangster rap is what he's gonna make you. You're like De La Soul. You know what I mean? I might be like a Run DMC or something like that. But for the most part, he's going to make them hear us, you know, and that's how pungent people like Mr. Palmer, Minister Jap. Yeah, we might not like the profanity, but damn, you see what I mean? Then you got a Kevin Samuels. He's like a Tupac. He's like so commercial. He's a Snoop Dogg. He's commercial. Everybody can listen to him, but everybody has their lane. And so I think we'll be heard. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
I think that the opportunities and what can come out of it are so powerful in terms of the potential of it. It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm in talks with Rutledge right now on my next book. So there's a lot that can happen with this space. And one of the things you know about that I've been working on the last couple of years is the 14-point Black male political agenda, which you've contributed to, and a number of other brothers. And this is not something that I wrote. This is something that brothers who, listen to the Onyx Report have commented on, so we can come up with a list of political ideas and potential policies that suit Black men. Because the thing about it is, when you listen to Black men talk politically, like especially during a presidential election, right? Yeah. They'll come look for Black men, and they'll put us in some kind of fake barbershop, or they'll go to a real one and try to have a conversation. And what brothers do is we still operate off of a 1970s kind of model of Blackness. So most brothers will give generic pro-Black answers, things that uplift the community generically when asked what we want. But when you ask Black women what they want, they have very specific and targeted Black female talking points that work to the advantage of Black women and girls. We have not done that until.
Where did they learn that? I mean, Doc, where are they picking that up from? Like, who sits them down? Go ahead.
No, it's the combination. I mean, they started dealing with this most particularly in the 1980s when it came to prominence. Oprah was the spigot where she took this really obscure group of feminists, Black feminists in the academy, and she popularized that and put that out through her works. And by the time she started producing films and bringing in the Terry McMillans and the generations of feminist, cultural creators and media pundits or whatever, by the time she brought all that out, they were operating on multiple levels. So you had everything from rappers to women with PhDs. I mean, I remember in the 80s when they were upset with Black rappers who were so-called being misogynist, they would send people like Angela Davis to go sit down with Ice Cube. So here you have this middle-aged woman with a doctorate who's world-renowned, and you have this young brother who's You know what I'm saying? It became a mother-son kind of dialogue, right? But they had people at multiple levels, right? Because you had Salt and Pepper, and then you had Angela Davis. You know what I'm saying? You had Oprah. So they operated at every level. We were only confined to a couple of spaces. Now is the time where we're starting to see brothers coming out. And in the manosphere, you're noticing brothers, man, that are lawyers like yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you were listening to Obsidian before people knew who you were publicly. You were already a lawyer. You were doing your thing. You know what I mean? We got doctors, we got guys who are running banks. And I'm not just saying these things arbitrarily. I'm talking about men that I met who listen and participate in the manosphere. You got professors, you got all kinds of brothers on every level. So from the rapper to the professional white collar, I've even had black male politicians reach out to me under the table and ask for direction on what they can try to implement. So so the moment is pregnant with possibility. And that's one of the reasons I put the agenda together, because I wanted a coherent space where brothers could come and see in a space that's not changing, right? See the things we're talking about. Now you can add to it, but it's going to be a constant reference we can go to really articulate our political needs and interests. And that's the next stage of it.
I want to take a quick break. I want to bring all the panelists back in, and then I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want to ask everybody these questions. Specifically, where is this going? That's kind of what I want to know. I think you all are equipped to answer that question, and a couple of other things on that in that vein. But we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back. And since you guys like these commercials so much, I got more of them.
I'm going to go overseas and get me a foreign girl. Just to let you know that even though, yes, they may be nicer, yes, they may be more submissive and prettier, but they're going to look up to you to be the main provider for her whole family. Her kids, if she got any, her aunts, her uncles, her brothers, her sisters, her 50-some cousins, everybody.
So men are saying they're getting their passport because there aren't enough fit, feminine, and friendly women to choose from. And instead of looking in the mirror and asking ourselves if we would make great wives to these men, we would much rather shame them and guilt them into staying with our mediocre asses. Ma'am, if you're not fit, feminine, or friendly, then you're not what these men want. Shut your ass and go to the gym. Like, do we see how toxic we are?
I had the best 3 years of my life in prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting for you to say that, bro, because you had millions.
I had peace, though.
Over the $30 million for one fight? Jay-Z's lying.
Hey, listen, can I tell you something? That don't mean nothing when you don't have your peace, your stability, your balance. You don't give a fuck. You don't even want it. You want to give it to somebody else. Yeah. You need your sanity to dictate any part of life. Because, you know, God, I always tell people, God punishes you by giving you everything you want. See if you can handle it.
All right. Welcome back to the broadcast. We have two of the greatest here in the manosphere, people that I personally look up to and listen to. I enjoy their conversation. I look forward to it. It's one of those things that I look forward to in the day. There are some others here that I'd like to mention. Of course, BGS Ibmore, Minister Jap, whenever I can listen to them. And there are so many others. Maybe you listen to them, maybe I don't. It's not that I don't acknowledge them. I just don't know them well enough. These are men that I put my stamp of approval on. And since you all are my crowd, then, you know, I bring them to you. I'm telling you, I listen to Minister Jap, and I listen to Mr. Palmer. I listen to Dr. Tiasan Johnson. I listen to Mumia Obsidian Ali. I listen to these guys, you know, because there's brilliance in what they're saying, and this is how growth happens. There was a time when getting too many black men together was always it was considered criminal, just hanging out, speaking. Yeah. And so now you have brothers on a nationwide and international level who are able to come together and create what apparently is some kind of think tank, you know, and we're all sharing and learning from each other. You didn't know about these terms before you came to the Black Manosphere. You didn't know that there were other black men experiencing the same things you were experiencing. You thought it was just you. Matter of fact, they gaslit you so much, they made you think you were the problem. Come to find out, they're the problem, and not just them, but society. So without further ado, man, I just want to I don't know if you all know each other, but Dr. Tia-San Johnson.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Well, no, I just want to say shout out to Obsidian. Obsidian introduced you introduced me to the Manosphere.
Yeah, 7 years ago.
Yeah, it was a random video. I had not seen any videos at all, and a random video of his popped up, and I made a little statement. He reached out and invited me onto his show and introduced me to this whole discussion. And I'm telling you, man, I've probably been waiting my whole life to see black men come together like this.
Wow. Yeah. And it's like it's a brotherhood. Like each one, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Obsidian or BGS. Matter of fact, it was probably, I don't know if it was 2015 or 2016, but BGS and Mumia Obsidian Ali were going at it about something on some high intellectual level thing. And I'm like, I just want to hear what the other one had to say. And so I'm listening back and forth. I'm like, my God, who are these guys? And so that in itself was just amazing. We're gonna welcome back Mr. Palmer too, man. What's up, Mr. Palmer? I don't know if you guys know Mr. Palmer and his work that he's doing about basically it's about reforming the family law system, and something that I've personally had to experience. And I know Dr. Johnson, you have a son, and you can imagine what it's like to have your son ripped away from your children ripped away from you, being alienated, something that affects all men, but specifically black men, because we have an aversion to the criminal justice system, the justice system, the civil justice system, and we don't want no parts of it. And because of that, we get abused by it. But either way, guys, the floor is open. What do you guys think about this Passport Bros movement? I mean, in the response, I have a theory. I'll throw it out there. I think Kevin Samuels was like the last hope. Y'all need to reform and compete because otherwise the floodgate is going to open. They're tired of you taking advantage of them in court. They're tired of you disrespecting them on TV, not acknowledging them. They're about to bounce. What are y'all thoughts on that, man? The floor is yours, guys.
Yeah, well, let me just jump in there and just say this because I know this is true. You and I are both members of Kevin's mixed group over on Facebook. I know for a fact that Kevin was holding up applications from non-black women in his group to the tune of thousands.
Wow.
Okay. I know for a fact that's true.
Yeah.
He truly did believe in black love. He wanted the sisters to get together with the brothers, but he couldn't in good conscience, given all the sisters calling to a show and so forth, he couldn't in good conscience to say, you need to just wipe these. Listen, and toward the end of his life, he kind of changed his position and said, it's open enrollment here. Let the best lady win.
Well, you know what, Obsidian, we've all seen the videos that changed his mind. We remember watching him. Remember he talked to the one young lady who said, we don't need you. Why would we need y'all now that we have jobs?
Yep, that's right.
You can look at Kevin's face. There were a couple of those. There was also one he did with a counselor who came up.
That's right.
He was trying to defend not smiling, and you could see his face in those interviews where he got emotional. You could see him start to shift. So none of this really, is a surprise when you paid attention, because he was like, I did my best, and this is still what we're getting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got sisters that don't even want to. There was one sister that proudly proclaimed she didn't need a cookbook. She don't need to get you a plate, nothing. I'm just like, damn, really?
But you still need to pay bills.
Yeah. And you need to take care of their kids. He would talk to the ladies that have children.
Right.
And it's okay. You got one or two kids or whatever, fine, fair enough. How many kids you gonna give your new man? Well, I might have one more, maybe. Stuff like that.
And that's why I tell me, and I say, like the doctor, I did all I can do. It comes to a point where you got to wash your hands and walk away. I tell men all the time. It comes to a point where it's just a point you ain't gonna be able to break. You got to have to go to another lane and move around. And to answer your question about the passport, bros, I have no problem with it. If that make you better as a man and get more peace, you get more submissive, you get more traditional. And if that make you better as a man, go on out there. I have no problem with it. Just be careful. Don't bring them back over here. Because sometimes you bring them back over here, they get that feminist ideology. Then I know a couple brothers that did that. and they end up dealing with a foreign baby mama terrorist. So you gotta be careful. Gotta be careful.
So what do you guys think? Because Dr. Johnson, you spoke a little bit about the politics, and I'm telling you, Mr. Palmer, I'm telling you that the reason that these Republicans are watching us. Matter of fact, there are some members on YouTube. There are black men on YouTube that I am and I don't do conspiracy theories, and that's not what I do. But I know through channels that they work for different parties or another. You see what I mean? I know some of your favorite YouTubers that you guys listen to, and I'll throw some of your favorite blackity blacks that y'all love so much. They actually are agents for different parties, political parties, and they plant them here, and they're using them to try to figure out what it is they can do to begin to coerce black men back onto whatever plantation it may be. I think personally that this is going to be the impetus. This group, this Black Manosphere, is going to be the impetus for social and political change coming in America over the next couple of generations. What are you guys' thoughts on that? What are you gentlemen's thought on that?
I think that the 14-point political plan is definitely going to play a role in that. I think that black men, with the whole Trump years, and I don't know if there'll be a second round of Trump or not, but the Trump years from 2016 to 2020 thereabout was a watershed time for a lot of black men. I know for me, look, I had to come to the conclusion that black women going to do them, man. They're going to do their own interests. They're going to vote for their own interests. They're going to advocate for their own interests. You got Wall Street giving them money. You got the government giving them money. You got the private sector giving them money. Look, I have accepted that. And where I'm at with it is, it's high time that black men did the same and start looking out for their own interests. And we just settle it at the battle box. That's just
exactly.
Go.
Exactly. I agree. They trying to make this 1970s job all over again. Kick the man out the house and leave him in the dirt where he belongs. So yeah, I agree. I hope Trump come back, but I don't see it with all this stuff they trying to do to him. But I didn't have no problem with him being in office. I voted for him.
Man, they working overtime to keep him out of there. They making all kind of crazy stuff to keep him out of there.
Yeah, I voted for him, and I'll vote for him again if he come back.
Same here. I voted for him, and the reason why I voted for him is very simple. As a lifelong blue collar brother, I've had my old job. They tried to get rid of me because I was after you get a certain number of years in the union, you get pay raises and seniority, stuff like that. Plus, I was doing double shifts, so I was getting time and a half on top of that. So I was a third highest paid man in the entire plant. Okay, so they're paying me a lot of money. So they call themselves cutting costs by bringing in what I refer to as Manny, Mo, and Jack. These are three illegal Mexican guys. They bring them in there, call themselves cutting costs, but end up blowing back up in their face because I was so good at what I do and all the rest of it. So it didn't work, but they tried it. And what I'm saying is, I know firsthand as a black working collar man, working class blue collar man, about that illegal immigration piece. And Trump was the only politician speaking of that. Nobody on the Democrat side, all this blackity black stuff, they were not talking about that. They weren't looking out for the working brother. Trump was looking out for the working brother. That's why I voted for him. And I don't apologize about that. I voted for my interests.
I voted for him too. I agree. I vote for what do for me. I don't care about Democrat or Republican. They all one and the same to me. But we already been seeing for so many years on what Democrats do to black people. And unfortunately, they still go along to get along.
Here's my thing. When I think about the space, one of the things that brought me in here is the conversations I was having with brothers, with baby boomers to millennials. I'm talking to Christians, Muslims, Hebrew Israelites, so on and so forth. Across the spectrum, conservative, Republican, liberal, Democrat. When I get to get a beer into these brothers and we start having real conversation, I hear the same things from each brother, the problems they're having with family court. That's why in the 14-point agenda, you'll notice family court reform is the first point. I didn't make it that. Brothers who contributed made it that. It has 12 subpoints. When you get to the core of black males in America talking about their issues, what I find is they have more in common, regardless of their political ideology or even their religious ideology, when you get to the core of it. So my question is, what could we build starting with those commonalities? What can we present and put forth starting with what we have in common And where can that go? I agreed. I mean, this is something I heard Farrakhan talk about in the 80s, that black folk need to operate outside of political parties. What I saw Ice Cube do was very similar. Why can't we do that? Why can't black men come together across ideology and focus on what we have in common and build from there? That's what I want to see happen.
I agree.
Doc, and if you guys want to take a look at the 14-point Black Male Political Agenda by Dr. Tiasan Johnson, you can find it on the link. The link is in the description section. And so it'll be here. It'll remain here. It's also in the chat room. But hey, isn't that what we're doing right now?
Yes, sir.
Right? You got Mumia Obsidian Ali, who is the voice of the everyday brother. You got a professor, you got a trial lawyer, and you got Mr. Palmer, who are both hardworking, blue-collar black men. And we're all right here, and we all agree on these things. Like, to me, that is revolutionary.
Exactly.
It's a start, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So, that's what I say about when I talk about family court. You could be a Democrat, Republican, you could be Islam, you could be Hindu, you could be Jewish, you could be Christian. It does not make a difference. You go in that child support family court as a man, you all one of the same. Yeah. I guarantee it.
We're gonna take a quick break, and I want to come back and I want to talk to you guys about some of the myths that we as members of the Black Manosphere have dispelled. Because we appreciate the Manosphere at large, but they're not going to talk about the 60% of black men who've reached the middle class, upper middle class, or rich. They're not going to talk about the 54% of black men who are single and unmarried and have absolutely nothing to do with this out of wedlock birth rate. They're not going to talk about that stuff. And it's our job as black men to do it. And so, for those who say, oh, well, the Manosphere, the Black Manosphere is unnecessary. No, we're helping change the stereotypes. And unfortunately, all black men, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a truck driver, a blue collar electrician, plumber, carpenter, when the police pull you over, they see those same stereotypes. Malcolm X said this. Malcolm X says you cannot rise higher than the lowest person, socially than the lowest person in your group. And I paraphrase that, but basically what that means, you could be the black president of the United States and still be an N-word. Just as much of an N-word as that dude hanging out on the corner with his pants hanging off. But at this time, you guys know what time it is. This roll call. Y'all make sure you check in. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm about to show you something.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. Big shout out to Richmond, Chi-Town, man. Omaha, Nebraska. Pittsburgh is in the house, man. Who we are? ATL, Georgia. Salt Lake City is up in here, man. Lagos, Nigeria, Chi-Town, Maryland, the Bay Area. Who else we got? Pittsburgh, we said that already. St. Louis is here. DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia area, man. Shout out to the 318 is up in here, man. That's Shreveport somewhere, baby. What's happening? Arkansas, man. Cleveland, that's what's up, Cleveland. When Cleveland is here, you know the party is started. Shout out to everybody in Cleveland too, man. But either way, So we're back at it. You know, I think, Doc, I think, and Mr. Palmer, thank you, Mr. Palmer. You guys make sure y'all check out his page. He goes live every day. Brilliant, young man. You know, you got blue collar brothers, you got educated, you got everybody coming together, you know, and I think there's some power in that. Obsidian, Dr. Johnson, what do y'all think is going to be the outcome of this? And where can we expect the attacks to come from? Because I'm paranoid. I'm always thinking defensively. So where are the attacks going to come from? I see the lovely ladies coming at us sideways. They don't want us flying out of town. But damn, I thought y'all said y'all didn't need us. Y'all was going to go get a white man. What happened to all that? Go ahead, guys.
Well, one thing I wanted to say, man, is it's the environment that produces this. If you look at the various ideologies and philosophies in the manosphere, they're the tip of the spear for what black men have been doing. Look, the first SYSBM brothers I ever met were pro-black nationalists back in the late 80s who were marrying African women, Caribbean women, visibly black women from Sri Lanka. These were brothers that were purposefully leaving the United States to find women elsewhere.
Wow.
The only reason we don't call them, aside from the fact that SYSBM as a term didn't exist then, the only reason we don't associate the two is because they came back with visibly black women. But there are plenty of brothers that are SYSBM that deal with black women. It's not like they're avoiding black women. They're avoiding American black women and American women. So I'm saying, you know, if SYSBM has already, if I've seen it practice, and I'm talking about in the academy, I can point you to the most Pan-African black professor you'd ever met in your life. And when you get down to a question, I've had this debate and these conversations with these brothers. Their wives will be from Kenya. Their wives will be from South Africa. And when you start to ask them why, you would think you're listening to the Manosphere, because they'll give you a history of the relationships they had here first. So we need to stop. This whole thing about it's just in the Manosphere is ridiculous. The Manosphere is the tip of the spear, and it's verbal and outspoken. But the things we're talking about are things that black men have been dealing with, experimenting with, and commenting on for decades. We just never had a platform, and we were never able to do it. But it ain't new. It ain't new.
I didn't even know that. That's very interesting.
Isn't that something? Yeah, man. Like, and that's the thing, man. Like, I grew up in the Black Power era movement, man. I was going to see Farrakhan at 7. I mean, you know, eating bean pies, listening to the Final Call, going to all the meetings. I had the Ascari shells on my neck. You know what I'm saying, man? And then I just realized how hypocritical these so-called pro-blacks were. Like, they the same. You smoking weed, spitting poetry, and then you drinking 40s and banging all the little broads. You see what I mean? She complaining more about you than she do about the thug dude she left at home. It's like, bro, you haven't elevated all these chakras and feathers and smoke that you got going on, and you still the same N-word that you complaining about. And then on top of that, a lot of them got the nerve to try to talk down to people from the hood. You see what I'm saying? Because on the real low key, a lot of those so-called pro-blacks come from very privileged backgrounds. That's why they got time to dig into this information and that information, because they ain't stressing about trying to eat and survive. Right. So, you know, man, I just always found them to be hypocritical. And really, I see more of that here in the Black Manosphere. Now, and then there's a flip side. Then you got the panderers. You got the dudes, and it's not even the Black Manosphere. This comes oftentimes from our critics. You got on one hand, you got the ones that's called you the queen, mother, goddess, you could do no wrong, Black Power. And on the other hand, you got, the police are always right. I'm a right wing, super right wing, tip of the wing Republican. Like, dude, you black as hell. They're gonna laugh. Like, dude, you can't be that. You can't be way over there with them. You might as well put the Klan hat on. Like, it's like we gotta have some balance. I get being center right, but you can't be too far one with the other, because you know the thing is crazy, and that's not what most people are. That's kind of what that's what I see here. And I know I'm just shooting it out there like a shotgun right now, man. But it's good to have minds like you gentlemen to help us try to sort that out, because otherwise you'll just be sitting there confused without the lexicon of the language to explain. Y'all can take it from there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that I think that the next step in all this is something that's going to be some kind of quasi political or social type of thing moving forward, because there needs to be reform in the family court system. I'm looking at the plan right now on Doc's website right now. And I agree that with that order, that's job number one right off the rip. We got to reform that family court piece, that divorce piece, that alimony piece. There needs to be a time limit put on that. There needs to be automatic joint custody. All of that's got to be implemented. This situation that's going on right now where the custody of the child automatically goes to the mom. That's got to stop.
That's the tender years doctrine and that's the presumption. And I think Dr. Johnson, you would call that misandry. That's the tender years doctrine presumes that the mother is the most fit parent. Even without any information, the presumption is that she's the better parent than the father. And I think that's done for a reason. And Mr. Palmer hit on it by giving the women the children. You also give the women the control. You also give them the money. And if you take the money from the man and give it to the women, studies show that women will more likely spend the money. Reason being because that's part of their habits. We live in a a country that is we call it capitalism, but really it's a commercial economy that depends on spending. So who would you rather have it, the hoarders or the people who are going to spend? Yeah. Of course, the women. And therefore you give them the children, you give them the money, and you keep the economy going and you make people rich. The other way around doesn't work. And so I think there's a monetary incentive in there. So we're going to have to figure out how to get rid of that, or how to put so much pressure on the politicos that they realize, yeah, we get it, but the jig is up. That's my thoughts on it. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. We got plenty of these humorous commercials, man, because my goodness, they went in. You guys, make sure y'all hit the thumbs up button and hit the KS button. Shout out to Kevin Samuels.
As someone who has lived in other countries for a number of years, let me tell you, Black men are the only one doing this. Men of all races are doing this. This practice has been going on for so long. It's only the broke Black men who out here clout chasing and who think they're really doing some new shit are the ones who are talking about it. I'm gonna tell you what the real lick is. The men who can afford to go over there, put them a wife in a house, keep her over there, and still maintain back in the States. That's the lick, okay? Like I said, the only reason why this is a trend now is because all the broke boys who couldn't afford it 20, 30, 40 years ago have the money, or they think they have it.
All right, welcome back, fellas. This is the propaganda that Black men have had to deal with. So the thing about the Manosphere, and I mentioned this earlier, we go a long way to dispel myths. We talk about the success of Black men. We talk about our actual rate of child, siring children. Would you guys like to take that? Because if you just listening to these lovely ladies, and I call them lovely ladies for a reason, because we want to keep the Lord, we want to keep it PG. But if you just listen to these we're the scum on the bottom of their shoes. What do you guys go ahead and rattle off some statistics that you think are important if you want to?
Well, it wasn't something I wanted to get at in terms of what she said, which was ridiculous. She started, basically talking about how Black men talk about it. So we must be broke, we must be dusty, all these kinds of things. What they're lamenting is the fact that Black men are talking. You know what I mean? And they're not able to control what we talk about, how we talk about it, and for what purpose. This is what really frustrates a lot of them. I call them gynocrats because we live in a gynocracy as far as I'm concerned. And they're losing control of what Black men are allowed to speak on. So that's really the fundamental part of her frustration. And a lot of women like her is they can no longer control what Black men do and talk about. And Black men are sharing information in a way we've never been able to share it before. That's the
Why,
key part to it.
why is that dangerous for them? I mean, why would they even care that black men are talking? That just seems crazy to me. Why would you care? Tell us why, Doc.
Control. I mean, straight and simple. It's about control. When you're able to have, like, if you have this framework where you don't need men, whether it be because of welfare involvement, whether because of philanthropic involvement, federal involvement, whatever it is, corporate, white collar employment with degrees, whatever these mechanisms are that allow you to live the fantastical life you've imagined that women are supposed to live. When it comes down to family, you still need something from men. But many of these women are terrified of men having any kind of say so in their households because that goes against the narrative. So being able to get sperm, particularly for men who are not really concerned with where they drop it, allows them to control their immediate environment. But that's starting to diminish. Most particularly, we saw this in the pandemic, right? Where the economy started to take a shake, when people started losing jobs, black women are the demographic being evicted more than any other. Then they started to discover that they actually needed men. The problem, however, is the kind of men they want have started actually talking to one another about options, about where else they can go, what else they can look for. I mean, the earliest conversations I remember in the Manosphere, and Obsidian had a lot to do with this as far as my introduction to it. It wasn't necessarily a passport, but it was about establishing some sense of values. This is something I used to tell Obsidian about. When I would talk to my students, none of the young men had a standard. They didn't have a list when it came to women. They took whatever came. Women had a list. Men didn't. Young men didn't.
Good point. Yeah.
I've never had a student in my class raise his hand and be able to give me a standard that he had for what he expects from any woman he deals with. The Manosphere was the first space I ever heard that actually challenged young men and men in general to actually think about, well, what are the values you want in your relationships? I've never heard anybody extend that invitation to black men before.
You know what? That's a really good point, Doc. And that's something I'm going to be talking more in the future on my show. Because this THOT focus, this has got to stop, because these women, they thrive off of that attention that brothers give them on Instagram and on Facebook and all the rest of it. You got to stop looking. Listen, you got to do like that Greek story with Medusa, man. You got to stop looking at these people, man. Stop looking at them. Stop liking them. Stop sharing them. Stop looking at them on your phone. I get it. You know, they look the way they look, and so on. I get all that, but you got to stop looking at that. You got to resist the urge to mount strange females, brothers. You got to resist that urge
to mount strange females.
You know, and I brought up to my guys here on the page. I explained to them that women seek attention, and it's as important to them as respect is to men. A man will kill you behind disrespecting them, and women they'll kill themselves for attention. That's why they have all these weird surgeries that nobody likes, and then their social status and their attention are the most important things to them. And by divesting your attention by taking that attention away from them, then that literally causes for them to conform. I've sourced it back to, the evolution of man and the evolution of how we were socialized. The women who were pushed out of the center of the social circle, they literally were out there in the woods defending themselves. So it's a matter of life and death. So that's how we were socialized.
No, and that's so key, man, because right now, one of the reasons they're so upset about passport bros is attention. You know, we're giving, but here's the thing. They were just as similarly frustrated when black men were contemplating the values of monkhood. I don't know if Obsidian remembers this, but one of the earliest shows I heard him talk about, he made mention of vacations, and he was talking about how black women talk about taking vacations all over the world.
Yeah,
he made mention about blue collar friends of his that are just as happy on vacation, right? From work, on vacation from blue collar work, who are sitting at home playing Xbox with their feet kicked up and actually enjoying themselves.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of the foundational points to monkhood, where you actually, for the first time, because I grew up in the 80s, right? In the 80s, we were told that you couldn't be happy unless you were able to please a woman and make her happy and pay her rent and put her in a house. We learned all these fantastical things. What a lot of men started to figure out, even during the pandemic, is, wait a minute, I can actually enjoy life even if I don't have a woman. I can actually, my bank account looks the way it did yesterday. Like when men started to figure out that first, you don't have to be in a relationship to be happy. And then from there, you might travel here or there, or go to a country where the culture actually appreciates masculinity. Those two observations change the game for men. And this is frustrating to a lot of women whose life plans, even though they tell you they don't need you, still require your attention. What happens when that attention goes? Because even if the attention goes to doing nothing, it's still not the attention they get from you. And that's still
the ironic thing is, I've done research and I've actually been to a lot of these countries, and I oftentimes will see women there doing the same things that the men are doing. There are women who travel to Jamaica and the Bahamas for sex tourism.
Oh, yeah.
So much so that there are books written about them traveling to Jamaica and the Bahamas for sex tourism. And I'm not talking about white women going to Gambia. I'm talking about African American women, middle-aged and older African American women going down to places like Jamaica and paying those young men and middle-aged men and older men, whoever they can get, for sex. But nothing is said about that by these same critics. And I'm going to go back to the black men who are criticizing passport bros. Nothing is said about these women doing the same thing, who have been doing it for much longer than men. Why is it, fellas, that it's easier for black men to stand up and pick on other black men than it is for them to stand up and speak to the women, to the black American women? Why is that?
You can't stand up to mama. I mean, that's going to be tough to stand up to mama.
Yeah.
Right.
I hate to say it like that, but yeah, you speaking out on that is risking speaking out against mama, and some brothers can't do that. I mean, even there are even stories with black women here in the States that they get into it with their man and their husband or whatever because they can't stand up to their mama.
Right.
And it creates tension between the mama and the wife.
Yeah.
And that goes to another point, and this is going to hit home for a lot of people, right? There's a lot of black women who allow men into their homes and who abuse the children. And then there are a lot of black women who abuse the children themselves. And I'm not just talking about physical abuse. I'm talking about young boys who are 10 or 11, 12, 13 years old, forced to perform sexual acts on older black women, but nobody says anything about that.
That's a good point. I'm not defending their actions. I'm not endorsing their actions, but it's just a fact. R. Kelly and Chris Brown, both of them have reported being put upon sexually as minors. Okay, by older black women. Now, Tarana Burke talked about Me Too. She was focused on in the black community, young girls being predated upon by the uncles or touching them and so forth. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't deal with that.
Yeah.
But like you said, Uncle D, where was the discussion about what was happening to people like Chris Brown? I don't even think he was a teenager at that point. R. Kelly and so on and so forth. My point is that it's not just black men touching young girls. I don't deny that fact. That's true. It's also a lot of older women touching young boys in the black community.
And it happens very often.
And it hasn't been viewed as a negative. In many ways, it's still viewed by men and women as a service that older women are given. They're inducting these young men into their manhood. That's how it's treated. But we can take it back. I mean, you could look at Richard Pryor. You could look at Ike Turner. You could look at Iceberg Slim. All of these brothers went through that dynamic, myself included, and many of the brothers listening to this. But there was no public outcry, and there still isn't, about black males who've been violated at a young age by older women and girls in our community. There's no standard for it. It's not considered a negative. It's considered a service. It's considered a good. He's now a man.
And why is it, Doctor, why is it considered a service? Why is it there that they see there's some benefit that inures to these young boys who are forced to perform sexual acts on these older women? Why is that not grape, as we call it? Why is that not what it's supposed to be?
Because
how can they get away with this is what I'm asking you.
There's no public movement against it. I mean, if you look at the 1960s, right, and you look prior to the advent of this whole question of domestic abuse, domestic violence, there really wasn't a public outcry. And many of the older white feminists at that time would tell you men beat up on women and women beat up on men. It took years to cultivate the idea of the female victim, where it became a stigma, right? Where abuse against women became a negative, but abuse against men was invisible. It's the same way when it comes to, child sexual assault and rape, as you called it, right? It's the same dynamic. We've had this public intervention since the 70s about what happens to girls. We have not had it about boys. So it continues to happen, and nobody, it's like cognitive dissonance. We see it, goes in, we goes through, we process it, we keep it, we don't even process it. It just goes through and we keep pushing like it didn't happen. And when we start to see these grown men who've been affected by that their entire lives and act out in relation to that trauma, it's only a problem then if they violated a girl, right? But we don't talk about the origins of that. You don't have an R. Kelly if you don't have R. Kelly's sister violating him and his brother. It doesn't work that way. But we don't want to acknowledge all of that. So all of these men that we see that are dealing with this mess, we don't want to ask the question what kind of trauma they experienced in the first place.
Obsidian, would you like to add?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think that we, right now, in the current moment, there is a push for Black men to be more emotionally expansive and expressive. And my response to that is, be careful what you wish for, ladies, because you just might get messing around with me.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Did you guys hear that so-called therapist the other day?
Oh yeah.
That was her call. Why is it that women in our society, women in our group, feel so comfortable publicly berating Black men? And I'm trying to get around to this term, misandrist, that I've heard Dr. Johnson. To me, it's like that black pill. I don't know exactly what it is. I kind of feel my way around it, but misandrist is something. Can you explain that to everybody? And you know what, you guys, make sure y'all hit the #1 button. Hit the #1 button. Show your appreciation for Dr. Johnson and Mumia Obsidian Ali. But those terms, I'm kind of familiar. Maybe Obsidian, you can explain what a black pill is.
Yeah, black.
Son, Dr. Johnson, tell us what that term misandrist means. Whoever wants to go first. I guess Obsidian, you can go first. Please.
Yeah. Misandry. Brothers need to understand what etymology is. Etymology is the history and origin of words. You want to know, you really want to know what a word means, break down its history and understand where it came from. That gives you the true definition of the word. The word misandry comes from the Greek. Misos means hatred. Andros means male or men. So misandry literally means hatred of men. Okay, that's what it means. And in the Black community, Black women have been allowed, and not all, obviously, but Black women have been allowed to hate Black men with impunity. As a matter of fact, Black women can do it and make money, millions of dollars of it. There was a brother that did a video about the Manosphere named FD Signifier, and in his video, he talked about TLC. He admitted it. He said, yeah, they were hating on working class men back in the 90s. They made millions of dollars off that record. That was the most famous record TLC ever did, hating on working class Black men, and they did it with impunity. Now you got this lady on TikTok, this therapist lady. She did get fired from a job, but now she's got close to 300,000 subscribers on TikTok. They got rid of Andrew Tate because they said he hate women, but you got Black women like that woman, that TikTok lady. She up there right now with over 250,000 followers on TikTok. And right here on YouTube, you got Black women talking about aborting Black male babies routinely, and nothing happened to them. What's gotta happen is more Black men have got to be engaged and involved, and let it be known you cannot engage in that type of hate speech against brothers anymore. We are not going to make it profitable for you to do so.
Yes.
Are we pushing back? Because Dr. Johnson, you put up let me first shout out to MS Delta. Thank you so much for the donation. She said, greetings to you all. We value the need these virtual barbershop social media forums. Thank you so much, MS Delta. Dr. Johnson, but aren't the fact that there was a backlash and this woman basically lost her job, are we now reaching a point where there are repercussions for those who practice misandry against Black men? Have we gotten to that point? That's my question. Do you think so?
We're starting to see it. The interesting thing is, even when she talked about being fired, she pointed to the Black women that wrote articles that doxed her. Right. And she did mention that men called, but there still wasn't I still don't think the pressure that Black men put on that situation was properly exposed. But I do think that black men are pushing back more than I've ever seen in my lifetime, and it's starting to have an impact. It's starting to change the minds, as some of the commercials you played have shown, where you have black women that a year or two ago would have been just as misandric as anyone else, are now starting to say, you know what, we were wrong. We're starting to see more apology videos than we've ever seen before. A lot of this is changing because black men are making noise, and something Obsidian's been saying for years: black men have been voting with their feet.
Yeah. Is it that they're more comfortable doing it now because they got cover from black men, or is it, as you said, because they've changed their mind? Like, what do you think it is? Are they more comfortable? Hey, we got all these brothers on our side now, so we can say what we want to say. We didn't like those disrespectful, ratchet, loudmouth women anyway. So now that we got these men, what do you think it is?
I think it's both. I mean, I think there are women who have, because women have actually talked about being berated by other women when they've made posts that are in affirmation of black men. They've talked about being attacked, having their jobs in question behind that. And so I do think there are women that have had these thoughts but didn't feel safe coming forward. And I think there are women whose minds were changed. I mean, look at Kevin's show. How many women called in with nothing but hostility and bile for Kevin, and then called back a couple months or even a year later to say, you know what? Thank you. Even married women would call back and say, my relationship with my husband is so much better, even though I didn't want to hear anything you had to say. When I listened to it long enough and I started to behave differently, my husband and I really get along a whole lot better. So you have both happening, but all of it required that men speak up. And we still haven't seen the changes that can come about with doing so. But as far as the whole question of going internationally, at the very least, what it should do is challenge people to step up, because as far as black men are concerned, the way we've been viewed as a given for black women. Right? The idea was when she achieved and got her job and her degrees and everything, she would just be gifted with the black male that she deserved to have.
Isn't that the opposite of what everybody else says? A man gets himself together, he builds himself up, and then he's gifted with a wife. It's like, we're not the bride. I mean, I just find that amazing.
That's how we've been viewed. We've not been viewed as somebody that needs to be competed for. We're viewed as a given. And so now that there's pressure, now that you have women from around the world and women from all kinds of backgrounds here in the US that are competing for men, especially again in the backdrop of the pandemic, right? I mean, Kevin used to talk about that those first weeks of the pandemic when people couldn't get water and toilet tissue. You remember that?
Yes,
and he was talking about women walking the aisles of grocery stores and watching other groups of women there with their husbands. And their husbands
I remember that.
were pressuring each other, fighting each other over water. These women were walking around with their kids. Now that's a symbolic little narrative, but it says a lot, right, about what's going on with the black family.
Yeah.
So now that there's a value put on black men, you can't get with one unless you actually are willing to compete. And that's the pressure that's being put on women. And that's a pressure black men have really never put on black women before.
Mr. Ali, Obsidian.
Yeah.
What is the effect of Kevin Samuels? Like, we've yet to have, this was the first one. Like, we didn't have anybody that was that commercial, that well prepared to deal with the public, who has basically taken what we call the black manosphere into the stratosphere. He's now they acknowledged him on the BET Awards. He's one of us. So, like, there's no putting this genie back in the bottle now. What has he done for us that we can follow, that we can track? I mean, how can we continue building on that highway that he paved to the mainstream? I got called by the BBC to talk to him. I don't know if the interview came out, but they weren't calling me before to talk. I'd appear on Fox, but that's to talk about legal issues.
Right.
But now here I am. So what explain that, please? You've been here since day one.
Yeah.
You know, and look where we are now.
Yeah.
Talk to us. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that where we go from here is we have to keep Kevin's legacy alive by continuing to build ourselves up as black men individually, and insofar as more on a collective level, to really be serious about having our own stuff, having our own little media operations and things like that, continuing to put forward our voices on the matters of the day with regard to not only just the lovely ladies, but other issues connected to that. So, family court, so on and so forth.
Right.
That's what we have to continue to do. It's out in the open now. Kevin broke the whole thing wide open, and now that the door is open, we got to rush right on through it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Dr. Johnson, your thoughts?
Only thing I would add to that is, look, as Black men, we are well accustomed to how to disagree with each other on what we don't have in common. The shift at this point that I hope to see happen is that we actually figure out how to focus on what we do have in common and what can be done with that. This is one of the reasons I don't delve a whole lot into religion or bipartisan politics, because as soon as you say that, people go off into their corners. But I'm like, look, I don't have a problem with debate. I don't have a problem with disagreement, but I don't want us to break apart because we've already done that. What can we focus on that we have in common, and what can we build out of that commonality? That's what I want to see, because I don't think it's ever happened, and it needs to. And I'd love to see what Black men can create when we actually work with one another.
You know, I think that what we see in the Black manosphere is unity. And this is the thing that Black people across the world have lacked, you know, since we came together, or since we've been here. We've divided ourselves as a result of tribes, language, locality, religion, but disunity. As a trial lawyer, especially one who deals with class actions, I see white folks come together all the time. They could be Catholic, they could be Protestant, they could be Jewish, they could be from the North, they could be from the South, but they will come together to fix something. And they can't stand each other. There are some guys that practice law together. They hate each other, but they always show up at the law firm luncheon with their families, and they may not like each other, but they'll stand next to each other and they'll smile, because the point and the purpose is they're trying to make money to take care of their families. Why can't we as Black men set aside our individual differences here in this virtual space, this virtual world? Why is it that we have so many critics? I pretty much don't respond to the critics because they don't really know me and I don't know them. And so there's not really any real beef. There's not any real conflict. Real conflict is you're trying to take my house. Real conflict is you're trying to cause some harm to me. You're trying to take my ability to take care of myself and provide for my family. That's real conflict. This is ego tripping. And my thing is, why is it that in this particular, is it competitive? Is there really a legitimate beef? Is it jealousy? And if so, the rest of the people of the world have those same feelings. Why is it that we can't put that aside and continue to work? I am proud to be a member of what we call a Black manosphere, because just like baseball, the Negro League, just like all those other things that we have, those early years of hip hop, I know what's going to happen, and I want to be a founder and part of this. Why do we have so many critics who have a problem with it when anybody who's lived history recognizes this is brilliance, and every time Black men get together and create brilliance, it takes off and it changes the world? What is the problem with these critics? And you don't have to name names, fellas, but it's like, can we just agree to disagree and then agree on the things we agree on and build from there? Because they're really minor differences. Go ahead, guys. This is out of my pay grade. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest takeaways from Kevin's life for me. He made it a point not to beef with other Black men.
Right.
His position was, if we can't work together, that's fine. Stay out of each other's way.
Right.
And I've come to see the wisdom of those words. I'm more and more incorporating that my own self. If we can't get along or whatever, that's fine. Good people can disagree. Good fences make good neighbors. Let's just stay out of each other's way.
Good fences, right? Good fences make good neighbors. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. John? I mean,
look, we're seeing, especially in the last 5 years, and you guys could probably talk to it about it more than I could, because your channels. I'm seeing brothers, Aboriginal brothers from Australia, brothers from South Africa, Ghana, you name it, right? All up and through England. You know what I mean? Brothers all around the world who are reaching out to say, we listen to you, and what you're talking about there in America applies to us here.
Yeah.
And so the potential for what brothers can actually pull together is just off the charts. We just have to actualize it and make it happen. But it's here, and I've never seen it before like this. Really never have.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping we can take advantage of it.
I do too, man. Big shout out to CJ Toulouse, my homeboy, man. Thank you so much. Let's run a quick commercial. We're gonna come back because I want to deal with this infighting, and it's not even the brothers. You know, it's not really even the brothers who are amongst the group. It's just a lot of outside critics, and we're gonna have to deal with. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Single black men out there that keep hollering about they going out of the country to get them a wife. Y'all want me to talk? Y'all baby mama say, y'all better sit y'all ragged asses down because you owe child support. And they don't let y'all get no passports. So it don't look like y'all going nowhere. So you might want to sit down and be content and do right and find you a black girl right here in these great United States because they ain't letting y'all ass.
So, scrolling on TikTok this morning, honey, it seemed like every other video is a man saying he tired of y'all bitches, he getting his passport ready, and he going to another country so he can get him a woman. I done told y'all bitches, when I was in Jamaica last week, honey, every other couple was a black man with a different race of woman, Spanish, Asian, white, girl. Honey, please, y'all better focus on the right shit. Y'all better start taking care of your man, because honey, they are leaving and leaving y'all asses in the dirt. Y'all keep focusing on these wigs and these BBLs and all this other goddamn bullshit instead of focusing on taking care of your man and making sure he's pleased and happy. Girl, please get the fuck out of my face. That bullshit. Y'all better stop that bullshit. They are serious.
People don't tell women the truth these days. Men get told the truth all the time. Women have no problem telling a man, I don't want an average man. It happens every day on my show. TLC said they don't want no scrubs, and we have no problem telling average men, you ain't crap. But if I just happen to have the nerve to agree with a woman that says she's average, then I'm Satan. I think that's interesting. People don't tell women the truth.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the broadcast. So, guys, gentlemen, it's a pleasure having you here. We're coming up on that 2 o'clock, 2 hour mark here. The first thing I want to do before I forget is I want to just go ahead and thank Mr. Palmer also. And I'm going to go ahead and put these. I feel it's an obligation for me to make sure that I help build you guys' channels up, because I've stolen as much information as I could from you guys. Okay, I might have recycled it, put it in a blender, but all this great wisdom, and I want them to get the source. Okay, so let's start with Mr. Palmer. Mr. Palmer has 11,000 subscribers. I want you guys, each and everybody in here, hit the #1 button. If you have family court issues, if you want to understand that you're not the only one, if you want to begin to learn how to help, go over there and subscribe to his channel. Make sure you do that now. He is raw and uncut, but sometimes you need that. He's that football coach that's going to make you dig deep down and get it out the mud. You know, he's that basketball coach that's going to run you to death. He's going to make you hear him. So y'all make sure y'all go over there and subscribe to Mr. Palmer's channel. Dr. Tia Johnson needs no introduction. You know, make sure you go over there. I want him to have 50,000 subscribers. There's no way I should have more subscribers than Dr. Tia Johnson. As brilliant as this man is. Yeah, I'm animated. Y'all like the commercials, but this is where you get your food from over here. And so I want to make sure y'all go over there. This is how you can find it. It's easy to find Dr. Tia Johnson. That's Dr. Johnson right there. You see him. You see his logo, the Onyx Report. So make sure. And, of course, a man who needs no introduction. And I got this book, and I've been reading this book. You know, this is Mumia Obsidian Ali. He is the thought leader of what we call the Black Manosphere. That's him right there, pointing it out. Look at that, pointing it out right there, man. So y'all make sure y'all go over there and check his page out. Y'all make sure, you know, show him some love. Subscribe to his channel. 22,000. He needs to have 50,000. I'd say 100, but all I got is 50 to give. So y'all make sure y'all go over there and subscribe to these gentlemen's channel. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Look, here's the thing. We got about 15 minutes left. I want you guys to just, what's coming up for you? What topics are you going to be dealing with? Obsidian, you can go first, and then we'll talk to Dr. Johnson. And what's coming up? What new projects do you have? What's hot on the radar? What's concerning black men, black women, the society? I know the politics are coming up. Obsidian, you're a proud Trump supporter. What's happening? Talk to me.
Yeah, It looks like Biden is in a lot of trouble, and by extension, since he's the leader of the Democrats, they're in some trouble trying to get themselves in gear for the big elections coming up, and we'll see how that works out. But I think that the political situation between black men and black women is only going to intensify in the next few years heading up to the big elections in 2024. And it will be interesting to see how things turn out with Donald Trump, because he got a lot of black men support back in 2016. We'll see if that happens again.
I agree. I definitely agree. The Dr. Johnson, what are your thoughts?
As far as the future, man, it's I'm right now I'm day to day since I just started teaching this week. So I'm balancing.
Now you're a real live professor. Oh, they turn your page on and they getting the whole college education on your page. I mean, that's free. You getting free college over there, man. I mean, you can't beat that, man. Go ahead, Doc. I didn't mean to cut you off. I get excited sometimes. Go ahead.
First and foremost, I really want to thank you for bringing me up, brother. I really appreciate it. Says a lot about you, that you can do well and turn around and help the brothers, behind you. So I appreciate that. But yeah, man, between teaching and this and writing, I'm still trying to get the balance right. I need to take some notes from Brother Obsidian, because he's already done all of this, so I'm still trying to get that balance right. But, I got a huge thing I'm working on that I've been working on for the last few months, and I'll be revealing that soon. So I think brothers will enjoy it. But for the moment, I'm just moving from one video to the next. I got a project I'm gonna do with Green Gorilla next week that I hope people will enjoy. And
he was here last time we had one of these where we just got the brothers together, and so we could try to build their pages up. Gigi came through.
Yeah, I had him on my channel last night, and he dropped a fire video today on FG Signifier. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, go to the Green Gorilla channel and check that out. He dropped some serious fire.
Okay. Yeah, you guys I appreciate y'all, man. I'm not gonna hold you up too much longer here. Thank you so much. Obsidian, thank you so much, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you.
And it's always a pleasure to have y'all here. You're welcome back at any time. I want to make sure this is what I want y'all to understand. I'm not one of these fake dudes. If I see my brother and I can help my brother, I'm gonna help my brother. Period. See, I'm the type that's gonna get in the door and open up the door and let the brothers come in. Even with the practice of law, I have a way in which I'm cool. These good white folk done let me in the door on these class action cases, and I'm bringing two of my other young black lawyers that I've been working with right in behind me. I walk in these courtrooms. I'm the only black dude there sometimes. Sometimes it's another brother there. But the thing is, it's just not enough of us in the representation. So what I do is I try to bring the brothers up, because see, the most important thing about being a leader is finding your replacement, so that the people that you're leading can have a smooth transition. What you don't want is a situation where you die or you're no longer able to fulfill your duties, and then all your work goes to hell in a handbasket, that your people scatter because you're not there anymore. So what I like to do, we got young brothers on my page. Alvin, 2020, 80-20, he pops up every now and then. I let the brothers come in. I let the brothers come in and host. You see what I'm saying? Wrench Turner. I let the brothers come in and host. I'll pop out for 20 minutes. You see what I mean? And just let them see what it feels like to have to keep it, to do that. I don't think they realize, Obsidian, Dr. Johnson, how much this takes out of your life. I don't see. They don't realize that I might be on here for 2 hours, but it's an all-day situation. Me research. This is something in the back of my hand, like back of my head, like a newborn baby. You always got it on your mind. What are we gonna talk about tonight? What are our talking points gonna be? Is this something that's gonna interest the crowd?
Right.
Then you got the haters. Don't make our life more difficult. The haters. I'm talking to the haters right now. The people, don't make the life more. This is hard being out here out front, talking to all these black. I thank God for Obsidian. I thank God for Dr. Johnson, because without them, it's like, man, you'll just be out here by yourself. And how dare you criticize these men? You are not on a level to be able to just you haven't done what they've done. You haven't gone through what they've gone through. You haven't built yourself up both in real life and in this virtual world. Why not just sit back and listen to your brother and accept his message for what it is, even if you disagree? But here's the thing. Truth is truth. And eventually, if you haven't caught up with the truth will catch up with you and you'll be like, oh, wow, he was right. Or he was mostly right. But the bottom line is, if you don't burn that bridge by being disrespectful and insulting, you can still catch up with your brother and be cool with him and shake hands. But if you come off the box with your ego thinking you know so much and you know this and you're that, then you just gonna burn a bridge and make an enemy. How you think the Crips and the Bloods started? The vice lords and the folks. Somebody ego got to tripping and somebody else ended up. Now you got a blood feud. And half the people that's fighting don't even know why. So I want you brothers to understand something. And I'm talking generally to all you black men in the manosphere, and they don't need a lecture, but they grown men. I get it. But we're better together. We're better together. And this also goes for my FBA brothers and my ADOS brothers. We at war with our brothers from the Caribbean and Africa. We're better together. Yeah, we might speak different languages. We eat collard greens, they eat kufu. You see what I'm saying? They eat saltfish, we eat oxtail. Actually, we all eat oxtails. But my whole point is we are better together. I don't see Irish men from Ireland arguing with dudes from Boston. You see what I'm saying? We are better together. All this beef. I want everybody in the chat room, all you brothers here listening to me right now. When you see these other men, especially black men, picking fights and beefing with other black men, recognize, man, it's on you to squash that. Because we all in the same boat right now. We all in the cage right now. And it makes no sense for us to fight. We are trying to work our way out of this cage. And it's mostly psychological. And it doesn't help when you have somebody battering and bashing somebody like Mumia Obsidian Ali or Dr. Johnson. And now they got to focus on that, and as opposed to focus on finding keys to unlock these psychological chains that have been put on us. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Protect them. I'm good. I like to fight. That's what I do. I don't want to fight all the goddamn time. But you've seen that that's what I do, and I'm good at it. But what I want you to understand is these brilliant minds need peace, because they're going to be the thought leaders to get us out of these psychological chains. That's all I got to say. I want these brothers to have the last word. We got to the 2-hour mark. Obsidian, you go, and then we're going to let Dr. Johnson wrap it up for us.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here because I'm going to go to bed. But I want to thank you so much, Counselor, for bringing me on. I want to thank Mr. Palmer and you, Doc, Professor Tierson Johnson, for coming on with me tonight. And everybody, just remember what Kevin's life was all about. I think about him all the time, and I miss him a lot. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Doc. I appreciate you, Mumia Obsidian Ali. Let's give a hand to Mumia Obsidian Ali. I done man my doggone things, but yeah, go ahead, Doc. It's on you. Go ahead.
Anyway, man, much appreciation for having me up. Shout out to everybody listening, those in the chat. I just wanted, the only off point I wanted to make before I left, man, is to support these brothers who are doing this work, because I'm gonna tell you, I didn't have as much of an appreciation as I should have until I became a content creator. When you're looking at somebody like BGS or Obsidian, like I think Obsidian said he's been doing this 7 years.
Yeah.
Man, when you have to produce content on a regular basis, it needs to be different than what it was last night, and you're doing this ongoing. It takes a great deal of work. I mean, as an academic, man, when we deal with even if I'm preparing a lecture, it's usually predicated on a paper, and a paper may take me months to write. You got to put in that kind of work to do each video, not necessarily to that degree, but you got to put in a lot of work to do one video. The next one has to be different. Nobody wants to see the same thing every night. That takes a great deal of work, and I didn't appreciate it until I started doing it. So support these channels, support each of these brothers, because at the end of the day, this is where we get to have these conversations and advance our thinking on matters that are important to us, and we don't have a whole lot of other places to go. This is where it is. Support it while it's here. And if you let this movement, this moment die, you don't know what you're gonna get. And we don't know if we can necessarily bring it back. So you got to support the moment.
I think this is it, Doc. Thank you so much, Dr. Tia-San Johnson. I appreciate having you here, man. You're welcome back anytime. I'm going to take a quick break, man, and I'm going to wrap this thing up. I got one more for them, man, but I think they're going to appreciate this one.
Peace. You know, I hear a lot of my black brothers pandering to the sisters with this good, sweet, conscious talk about how we need to respect and protect the black woman. But it's funny, I don't hear no talk about how we need to check and discipline and control the wildness and rebelliousness of the black woman so that they can qualify for our protection. Why are we yelling so much about how we gotta respect and protect the black woman when she out here wild as F, doing whatever she wanna do, and then demanding our protection? No, that's sucker move, that's some punk pandering. If we gonna respect and protect the black woman, that's because we can check and discipline and control their wildness. Ain't no respect and protection without checking and disciplining, controlling, with love and wisdom, of course. But that's our work as men. We gotta do that job. Peace.
Well, there it is. Welcome back to the broadcast. I want to thank Dr. Tia-San Johnson, Mr. Palmer, and of course, Mumia Obsidian Ali. I want you guys to be reminded that you can find their channels on YouTube. I want you to go over there and get all that good information, man, and help it begin to build your lives. This is Dr. Tia-San Johnson's channel, Mumia Obsidian Ali, and of course, Mr. Palmer, like he says, keep your veins cold, man. A lot of this information, a lot of these words and phrases that you guys have, misandry, black pill, baby mama terrorist, all this stuff, man, this is coming from us. This is where it's coming from. You know, you don't think this has an influence on what the world sees? It does. Black men have always been at the forefront of culture and moving things forward in the United States. And whichever direction the United States move, the rest of the world pays attention, and we often have influence over them. So yeah, you know, I enjoy. It's an honor to be considered part of the Black Manosphere. I didn't know that I was going to be part of the Black Manosphere. I was just some dude on Facebook who decided to open a YouTube channel. But here I am. You know, here I am. And so I'm proud and I'm happy. I appreciate you, brothers. We have a diverse collection and group of men here. You know, and let me say this: we all deserve our voice. You don't have to agree with me. I don't care. I would prefer you not to agree with me, because then that gives me a challenge. But what I'd like for you brothers to do is be respectful. And that goes for the greater community. I want Black people across the pond, across in Africa and South America. So we need to have a greater respect for ourselves. And then that will extend to our brothers. Respect is the order of the day. You can't have a relationship with someone if there's no respect. Nobody's perfect. All right. And we have to understand that. But if we come together, we can be greater together. We can pool our resources, our intellectual capacity, everything that we have, all of our life experiences, and we can be great. And let's make this start right here. So for those of you guys who are part of YouTube, if you're a Black man and you're part of YouTube, let me help you understand something. Whether you know it or not, you're still affiliated with the other Black men in YouTube, period. And again, I'm the one that likes to fight. You see what I'm saying? And if you got me coming out here telling you that, you know, it's better, we're better together, then that says a whole lot. All right. But either way, man, this is Uncle D, man. Shout out to everybody who contributed to the super chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal, man. I know I had some people come through and they was like, you ain't saying nothing. So you want me to interrupt Dr. Tia-San Johnson to give you a shout out for your super chat? You know, I mean, I'll do it, but man, I'd rather hear that message. That's what you're here for. Thank you so much, Joseph Childers. Let's hit the KS button, man, in memory of Kevin Samuels. Thank you guys so much. And, you know, I'll be back, man. I enjoyed this. You know, I appreciate it. Shout out to my guys, Project 8020, all my regulars who come through, man. But anyway, man, I don't have anything else to say. This has been great. I'm not just a member of this so-called Black Manosphere. I'm a fan of these guys, man. So just to have him here, have those guys here, Obsidian, Dr. Johnson, it's just been an honor. But other than that, as I always say at this time, man, this is Uncle D, and I'm out.